Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Shall I start or should I wait for some more time? I don't know the participants' number. Shall I start, Lipika?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. After a long time, can you please switch on the videos, the students? Otherwise, it would be so discouraging for me to teach. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. How are you?
Fine. Good, ma'am.
Good?
Hey, ma'am, how are you, ma'am?
Oh, I'm doing great. So how is your studies going on? So after finishing the classes, you might have had, got many doubts. So what about economics? How confident are you? Pretty well? Pretty confident? Can you hear me? Why this silence? I'm just asking you. By the way, okay, be honest. Have you really started reading economics?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
So are you finding it difficult, interesting, boring, or not at all able to follow, or because it's a theory paper, is it difficult to read the source material? How is it? Or when you are reading the source material, are you able to connect to the examples given in the class? Yeah? Yeah?
Yes.
Pretty comfortable? Okay, so do you really need the revision session then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It will be 2.5 to 3 hour session. So I have to cover the entire syllabus. So you tell me, where do you want me to start from? Like, do you really want to start from the first chapter, or do you want to teach some concepts which are really, really difficult? Do you have something of that sort in your mind? If not, I'll go with the flow, like from the first to fifth, all the chapters, just one revision. So I will definitely share the same PPTs. I think four chapters PPTs I can share, but the fourth chapter is not done by me to you. That I will, because it is a lot of diagrams and all, I'll just work it out with you. Okay. In between, if you find, when I'm going through the slides, if you feel like asking questions, if you have a doubt, or whatever questions you have come across while studying, so if you want to discuss that, we can definitely do it. Okay, you can always stop me, because today's session is, I think, before you write your exam, this will be the final session for economics. So this is one last time to clarify all your doubts. So please don't be hesitant. Please be free. And as usual, the class is yours. So make it more of yours. Thank you so much. So shall I start with the first chapter? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
One
Yes,
second. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the first chapter is about the introduction to economics. And basically, from the examination point of view, you need to understand that why you need to learn economics, because you have to think from the business manager, from the perspective of the business manager. You are not going to learn economics as an academician. You're not going to learn economics as a research scholar. Shri, somebody do not scratch, should I change the annotation ಎಲ್ಲ disable ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ಲಾ? Don't do it in the class. It's the final class. So 1 second. Yeah. Okay. By mistake ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, but ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರಂತೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ. So business economics is about application of the economic theories into practice. Okay, that is what is business economics. So you have to think from a manager point of view, from the business entrepreneur point of view, not as an academician, while answering the questions from this chapter. So I hope you remember that business economics comprises of that part of economic knowledge, logic, theories, and analytical tools that are used for rational business decision making. So basically, the first chapter talked about the implementation, application part of the theoretical concepts of micro and macro economics. So economics is broadly classified into two types: microeconomics and macroeconomics. So microeconomics examines the individual part or individual unit of an economy or small part of an economy, whereas macroeconomics covers the larger part of an economy or whole of an economy. So in the microeconomics, we usually study product pricing, consumer behavior, factor pricing, the economic conditions of section of people, behavior of firms, and location of industry. I'm repeating it because these are the concepts you have studied in the rest of the. When I was teaching you this first chapter, maybe you were not able to connect to it because it was just an initial it was the first chapter. But now that we have covered entire syllabus, now I think you are able to make more meaning out of it. So now you know what product pricing is, you know the market structure, you know what factor pricing is, you know what consumer behavior is, because you have already studied indifference curve, marginal utility, and then cardinal utility and ordinal utility, and also consumer surplus. So now you understand these concepts better: law of demand, price elasticity of demand, all these things, right? And then macroeconomics studies the larger part of an economy or whole of an economy. Okay, so here, can you hear me? Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then okay. Some videos were stuck, so I was worried that whether it's my. Okay, so macroeconomics studies the larger part of an economy. So in your syllabus, you have studied the business cycle. So that is from macroeconomics part. Otherwise, the first 4 chapters involve only microeconomics analysis. So this is about micro and macro economics. One second. So here I think you need to understand normative and positive statements. Okay, that please, because the rest of the things are very simple. The technical concepts are two, normative and positive. What is normative economics or normative statement? A statement which explains the things as it is are called positive statement, and the statements which explains the things as it should be are known as normative economics. So normative economics is judgmental. Value judgment is attached to it, whereas in a positive economics it is not so. See, for example, in India, 230 million people have lost their jobs in the COVID period is the positive statement. Like, it's nothing positive about it. It is a bad news, but still it's a positive statement because it explains the things as it is. And then, the government has to come up with the employment generation programs so that the people's lives can be put back to the normal. So that is normative economics, because we are not just telling what it is and how it is, but also how it should be. We are adding the value to it. So that is normative statement, and economics is both positive as well as normative economics. Okay. Please, when you're going through the resource book, you will know, right? So they will definitely not ask the simple questions. So because they have to maintain the standard. So think what kind of a question can be asked, or what questions could be asked from what concepts, because if the concepts are little difficult to understand, then expect a question from it. If the concepts are too easy, don't break your head on that, because if it is easy, then it will be easy for everybody, and if it is generally very easy, then it won't be asked in the exam. Okay, so that's the thing, right? See, they have to find the pearls, so they will definitely make it difficult. So obviously at this level, foundation level, it won't be that difficult, and definitely none of the questions will be out of syllabus. So everything will be whatever is given in your resource book. So you can completely rely on your resource book. But while reading, just focus on those concepts which is confusing or which is a little more difficult to understand, where you need conceptual clarity is very important. So the questions from such topics will definitely come. Okay, if something are very easy, the chances of getting questions from those concepts are really less. And if you get it, well and good, because it is easy, you can always attempt to you can always be successful in choosing the right option. Anyway, it is MCQ, but I think negative is there, so you have to be all the more careful. Okay, before I winding up, okay, now itself I'll tell you how to take up the test exams when it has a negative marking. Okay, this is just one suggestion from my side, that how I did. Like, I have never attempted this kind of, I never took this exam because I'm not a commerce student. So, but in economics too, I have taken SLET, NET and all those are negative marking entrance exams, like quite difficult papers. The passing percentage is in economics, it's only 2 to 3%. So so when there are negative questions, one thing, it depends on how much marks you lose. And if you get scared and do not attempt, then you will definitely going to lose. Okay, if you're very scared and don't attempt, then you're definitely going to lose. But see, the thing is that you have to attempt at least 75 to 80% of the questions. Okay, at least 80% of the questions. And in those 80%, 60% you should be very, very confident about. Okay, the next 20%, even if you're not very confident, out of 4 options, strike out the first 2 options which are not quite, related to that, or that there can't be the answer. So because you see, it's not that you won't know the answer, you will always be in a confusion, this or that. So please, reject the first 2 answers which that out of 4, 2 answers which that can't be the answer. Usually the confusion will be between the 2, not among the 4, right? So then try to, if you can draw the diagrams and understand the concept, if you can, there are many such things like in market equilibrium and all. If you draw the diagrams, you will be able to understand. So try, then, use your logic and all, then tick the right question. Even if you make something, even if you tick few questions wrong, should be okay. Because if you think that out of 10, okay, 10 questions, you have attempted 10 questions which you are not very sure of your answers. Okay, then when you reject the first, the first unrelated answers, and then you have to choose only one between the 2. Usually, if you use your logic and if you have studied well, okay, then the chances of doing wrong will be, let's say out of 10, you may do 4 or 5 questions wrong. Okay, still it is okay, take that risk. Okay, but leave that question where you have no idea what is it all about. Sometimes you won't even know whether it is from 1st chapter or 5th chapter. Is it talking about the consumer or a supplier? If there are such kind of a question, or there is a question you have never heard of, then don't attempt at all, because that's definitely going to cut your marks. So such questions do not attempt. But there will be questions where you know the concept, but at that point of time you're not very sure of the answer. Then take some more time and choose the right answer. So even if you do some 4 or 5 questions wrong, still it should be okay, because you just have to get the passing marks to clear it. So I think you should be able to do it. And then no, basically what I want to tell you is that, don't be too scared of the negative marking and, leave all the questions. Don't do that. Take some risk. Okay, take some risk. So then scope of economics. These are the simple things I think you should be able to understand. So I'm not going to spend much time on the chapter 1, because the rest of the chapters are, they require more time. That's what I believe. And then in the second unit of the first chapter, we discussed about the basic problems of an economy, right? So in the basic problems of an economy, you know that, one second. One second, let me share the PPT so that you will just have a, yeah, you can recall the classes. That's the reason. Basic problems of an economy. There are 3 problems: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. The 4th one is what provisions are to be made for economic growth, is the added one. But basically there are 3 problems. What to produce is a problem of choice. How to produce is a problem of technology, and for whom to produce is a problem of distribution. So please remember, what to produce is a problem of choice. How to produce is a problem of technology, whether to go for labor intensive technology or capital intensive technology. And the last one is for whom to produce is a problem of distribution, whether to produce for economically affluent section or economically weaker section. Then capitalist economy, just remember that if the private sector holds an upper hand in an economic system, then it is called capitalist economy, where the role of the government is only to maintain law and order. The rest of the economic activities are managed by the private sector. So that's called pure capitalist economy. And in a pure capitalist economy, what to produce is determined by consumers' preferences, how to produce by producers seeking profits, and for whom to produce by purchasing power. Socialist economy, just understand that in a socialist economy is an economy where all economic activities are controlled and managed by the central authority or government. Okay, if it could be a dictator, it could be a king, queen, or a democratic economy, democratic political setup, that we don't know. But if a central government or the central authority is controlling all economic activities, then it is called socialist economy. Okay, and then we have mixed economy. Mixed economy is an economic system where both socialist and capitalist economy or the features will be there. So the private sector and the public sector will work hand in hand or will work together simultaneously. In reality, most of the economies are mixed economies. India is a classic example because as the constitutional setup when India was planning to take up an economic system, we took the mixed economic system. So that is how it has been, openly accepted the mixed economy system. But even the developed economies like USA or UK or Sweden, even these countries also have, in these countries too, the government does interfere in the economic activities. So there are no pure capitalist economy. There are no pure socialist economies. Most of the economies are mixed economies. Am I clear? Any doubt? Yeah. So
No.
you can just go through these slides like all government preferences. Okay. This is about the first chapter. So do you have any doubt in the first chapter? Clear with all the concepts, right? And from the examination point of view, you may not get too many questions from the first chapter. Even if you get questions, it would be on the economic system, like whether capitalist system, socialist system, or mixed economy, or maybe on a technical concepts like micro, macro, positive, normative, right? Then the central problems of an economy, I doubt, those are the 3-4 concepts in which you have to concentrate on. But first chapter questions can be answered even with your common sense and the general knowledge, because they're not very technical. Okay, so even if you get 1 or 2 questions, I'm sure you will be able to answer those questions. Okay, so next comes the second chapter, is all about consumer behavior. Okay, so in the second chapter, you just have to think like a consumer, which you are. So it is easy to understand. So there are 3 units in the second chapter. So we will go through each unit, and if you have a doubt, if you want me to explain any of the concepts, because from the second chapter all concepts are technical, and it cannot be written with your common sense. You should have a conceptual clarification to choose the right answer. Sometimes when concepts are difficult, it is all the more tricky to choose the right answers in the multiple choice questions. Okay, now you know that economics cannot be by hearted. You cannot by heart and answer any of the questions. You really need to understand the concepts. So are you ready? Shall we move on to the second chapter? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. If I'm slow, you can ask me to speed up. I don't know how is your preparation. Okay, so someone might have read the entire resource book thrice or twice or once, I don't know. It is not about how many times you have read, it's all about how much you have understood. So I'm just taking a guess, and I'm talking. So if you don't want an explanation for any of the concepts, and if you're very clear about those concepts, I don't mind skipping that, because I have only 3 hours to complete the entire syllabus. So 1 second, I'll just, too many PPTs, confusing. Okay. So second chapter is all about theory of demand and supply, consumer behavior. So in that, first unit is about theory of demand and supply. In that, we have studied the law of demand and elasticity of demand. Definitely expect a question from this chapter. Okay, elasticity of demand. There will be one or two questions from this concept. Let me just share the slide. 1 second. Yeah. So first and foremost, demand is not mere desire. It is quantity of goods that a person is purchasing. Okay, so the concept of demand refers to the quantity of goods or services that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices during a given period of time. So please do understand that demand is not desire. It is, when I say the demand for mass has increased, the demand for gloves has increased, that means that people are buying it, not planning to buy it. They are buying it. Okay, understand. Then determinants of demand: price of the commodity, consumer's expectation, price of related commodities, income of the consumer, taste and preferences of the consumer. Okay, in that, bandwagon effect, demonstration effect, snob effect, and Veblen effect. I think in this, I just have to cover, I just have to repeat two concepts: bandwagon effect and Veblen effect, because they're a little confusing. And if you want, I can also talk about substitutes and complementary goods. Okay, that I think that can be covered later. So in this concept, in the determinants of demand, do you want me to explain any other concept? Yeah. So shall I just touch upon the bandwagon effect and the Veblen effect, because that's a little confusing. So students, concentrate. Bandwagon effect is an effect where people buy goods because it is trendy, because others are buying. Okay, it may be an expensive good, or it may be an non-expensive good. Okay, see, I always give the example of that dangal chashma. That may be of 100 rupees, but still, people started buying the shades, sunglasses, and putting it in their bag. So that was a trend. Okay, so anarkali churidar, that's a trend, right? Pencil cut jeans, that's a trend. So and flat TV, even when the TVs were working well, because people started buying the flat TVs, everybody, and the big size TVs. Earlier TVs were as per the sitting size, the room space and all, decided by the room space. Now too, that is important, but still people love to buy bigger TVs, flat TVs. That's a trend. That's the bandwagon effect. Okay, so demand increases because of the trend and because of looking at others. So that is called bandwagon effect. It has nothing to do with the price of a commodity. Am I clear? Because that is how you can differentiate between the Veblen effect and the bandwagon effect. Whereas Veblen effect, people buy goods because they are expensive. Okay, people prefer it because it is expensive. People prefer iPhone because it's expensive in many cases. Okay, people buy BMW, people buy Volvo car because it is expensive. If Volvo starts producing cars of 5-10 lakhs rupees, maybe that high-end customers, the high society customers, they stop buying Volvo cars. Are you able to understand? So Veblen effect and snob effect are the same. Don't get confused. Veblen and snob effect are the same. So snob effect means people buy goods because it is expensive. Okay. Whereas bandwagon effect is people buy goods because it is in trend, because it's in fashion. So bandwagon effect doesn't talk about the price. It only talks about the trend, whereas snob effect is directly connected to the price. Am I clear? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you want me to explain any other determinants? Income, any other determinants? Okay. If not, I will just move on. Okay. Okay, demand function. Please remember, when function refers to an algebraic expression of the relationship between two variables. Okay, it's an algebraic expression of relationship between two variables. So we have demand function, supply function, production function. So there are different types of functions, so which explains the relationship between two variables. So demand function also explains the relationship between quantity demanded and its determinants, like price of a commodity, prices of related goods, income of the consumer, taste and preferences, advertisement, etc. Got it? So this is what demand function is all about. So, and then law of demand, other things being equal, other thing being constant. There is also a word called ceteris paribus, which means other things being constant. If the price of a commodity falls, the quantity demanded will rise. And if the price of a commodity rises, the quantity demanded will decline. So I think this is the simplest law. This is the demand schedule. Demand curve is it can be a downward sloping straight line, or it can be a convex curve. It will be a convex curve, not concave. 1 second. So demand can also be like this. Okay, it's a convex, so it's not concave. So I want you to remember that, it can be a linear. If it is a linear equation, if it is a linear, then you will have a downward sloping straight line. Otherwise, you will have a convex curve. That is individual demand curve. And the market demand schedule. When it is also called as a horizontal summation. Okay, market demand curve is also known as horizontal summation, because when you add individual demand, you get the market demand. Okay, when you add individual demand, you get the market demand. Then rationale of law of demand, law of diminishing marginal utility, price effect. It has a substitution effect and income effect, and arrival of new consumers, different uses. I think in this concept, I think you may have to concentrate on these two. Okay, substitution effect and income effect. Question might be asked from this concept. So please do understand, we are talking about commodity X. Okay, demand of commodity X. Demand of commodity X. When does the demand of commodity X increases? There are two effects. Okay, it is talking about price effect, but please do remember that we are not talking about the price of X. Allah, adike idu confusion. People do think that price effect means when price of commodity X increases, demand for commodity X decreases. Allah, the law of demand. Okay, see, here we are talking about price effect, not of that particular commodity, but of other. Okay. Okay, here in this case, substitution effect. What do you mean by substitution effect? The demand for X increases when price of Y increases. That is called substitution effect. Okay, now that the price of Y has increased, X looks relatively cheaper to Y. Okay, as a result, the consumer will shift their demand from Y to X. Okay, so that is called substitution effect. So people are substituting X for Y. Instead of buying Y, they will be buying X. So that is called substitution effect. What is income effect? Again, don't get confused that many a times, students do get confused that income effect means when income of a consumer increases, demand for good increases. Allah, it's not that. Income effect means, please remember, we are talking about real income. What is real income? Purchasing power. When price of X decreases, the purchasing power of the consumer increases. So what he could have bought the quantity of goods that he could have bought it in 100 rupees, now he can buy more, not because his income has increased, but due to the decrease in the price of commodity X, his real income has increased, not the money income. Are you able to understand? Income now can be understood in two ways. One is money income, another one is real income. This you can easily understand. See, 20,000 rupees in Bangalore and Bijapur is not the same. Though the money income are same, 20,000 is 20,000. Okay, allunu RBI issue madodu illunu ade. Adre, what you can purchase in 20,000 at Bijapur or in Belgaum or in Bhadravati will be different from what you can buy in Bangalore, right? So 20,000 rupees real income is less in Bangalore, whereas more in the smaller towns. Are you able to understand? Because of the purchasing power, because of the price of a product. Okay, so when price of a product decreases, okay, consumers' money income won't increase, but his purchasing power increases. Okay, that's called income effect. Am I clear to you? Okay, clear? I think that is the only little technical and little difficult concept in this thing, rationale of law of demand. Like, why does the law of demand work? No, because the price effect works. And the price effect has two things: substitution effect and income effect. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, exceptions to the law of demand. Here, conspicuous goods. Do you know the meaning of it? Conspicuous means luxury goods. Okay. So this is nothing but snob effect or Veblen effect. Understood? Okay. People buy goods because they are expensive. So they are against the law of demand. They don't buy when the price decreases. They buy when the prices are high. Okay. That is snob effect. That is conspicuous goods. And then given goods. Okay. Most of the students find it confusing between given goods and inferior goods. There is a statement: all given goods are inferior goods, but all inferior goods are not given goods. Okay. So now let us clearly understand the difference between given goods and inferior goods. Please do remember. Okay, let me, 1 second. Please do remember, given goods is classified on the basis of price. Okay, whereas inferior goods are classified on the basis of income. Okay, be with me, understand. What is given goods? It is an exception to the law of demand. Given goods says that even when price increases, the demand for given goods increase. Okay, as per the law of demand, when price increases, demand must decrease, right? But there are certain commodities in the market, even when price increases, the demand increases because all of them are inferior goods. They are low budgeted, less expensive, cheap quality goods. If people, even if the prices of such goods increases, people have no other go but to buy those products. Otherwise, they have to live without it, and living without them is impossible. So what are those inferior goods? Like, ragi, bajra, okay, millets. So they are already very cheap. Salt, they are already very cheap. Now the people cannot afford it. Now when the prices of these things increases, people have to purchase it to make a basic minimum living. Okay, so they are inferior goods, but that is not classified on the basis of income. Given goods are those goods whose demand increases even when the prices are increasing. Clear? Now I'll come to inferior goods. Goods are classified into two types: normal goods and inferior goods, on the basis of the change in the income of the consumer. Be with me, on the basis of the change in the income of the consumer. Now, what does normal goods means? When income increases, if the demand for certain goods increase, okay, then they are called normal goods. Okay, and there are few exceptions. Okay, there are certain goods whose demand decreases with an increase in the income. That means that people were buying those goods just because they didn't had enough money to buy something else. So once they get their money, once they get the money power, once their income increases, they will definitely ditch these products and buy the alternative one, which they always hoping to buy, aiming to buy. Okay, so that is inferior good. Are you able to understand? So I hope you remember that, Ragi story I told you, right? So the lady, if she had got the money, she would have definitely bought rice. Now that she didn't have money to buy rice, she was settling with ragi. Got it? So inferior goods are classified on the basis of income of a consumer, change in the income of a consumer, whereas given goods are classified on the basis or are bifurcated on the basis of the price of your product. Now, are you clear with the concept of given goods and inferior goods? Any confusion?
No.
Great. Everybody, I don't know, there are very few students who have switched their videos on, so I can only understand it from their expressions, but others, I don't know. If you have a doubt, you have to stop me. Okay, this is one last chance to learn the things. So, okay, yeah. So look at the other exceptions. If you want me to explain any of the exceptions, I don't mind. Conspicuous necessities are like, they're expensive, but still it becomes a necessity sometimes. So the law of demand won't work. So it could be like, wedding ring in a Christian marriage, Mangal Sutra in a Hindu marriage, right? Even if the gold prices are high, the trend is such that, it has to be, used. So gold has to be purchased, at least in the Indian wedding. So then it becomes the conspicuous, expensive, but still it is a necessity. Okay, so you might get a few examples. 4 examples ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ conspicuous necessity ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. In that way you should have the clarity of the concept. That's it. So one second. So if you have any, if you want me to explain any of the other concepts, I would love to. Future expectations about prices, impulsive purchases, demand for necessary, speculative goods. One second.
Ma'am, impulsive purchases.
Impulsive purchases is, sometimes, that's what this television marketing do. Last 10 pieces, last 1 piece, last 5 minutes, order it now, otherwise you won't get it for the, you won't get the goods for this price anytime in the near future. You won't think actually the prices are high, low, you just buy it. Impulsive means taking a sudden decision. Okay, that is impulsive. So you go to a tourist place and you just buy thinking that it is really cheap, but it may not be, because you are new to that place and you don't know the market, but still you would have bought it, and you would have thought that it is the cheapest, and you bought it for the entire family, not just the 1 piece, some 10 pieces. So that's impulsive purchase. And then, when you do the online shopping, again, they change their price so well, and because AI is so good now, right? Artificial intelligence is so well developed that they know you better than yourself. So, and then they tempt you to buy the goods even at a higher price, because you think that that is the lowest one, or you think that the prices may increase further, right? So you end up buying it even when the prices are high. So that's why it is an exception to the law of demand. That's called impulsive purchase. Okay. Let me move to the next slide. expansion and contraction of demand. You can expect a question from this concept, either on expansion and contraction of demand or on shifts in the demand curve. Okay, so what is expansion and contraction of demand? Remember, if the demand changes only because of the change in price, okay, then it is called, then it will result in either expansion of demand or in contraction of demand. Harshita, you have raised the hand. Do you have a
Yes,
doubt?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, for different goods in the exam, ma'am, will we get to know clearly what the different goods are, or ma'am, since there is a confusion between inferior goods and different goods there, ma'am, are there any particular goods that we need to know are different goods?
Harshita, as far as I know, there is no confusion between given and inferior goods, but are you asking, like, what kind of a question can be asked?
Ma'am, ma'am, for example, now in the exam, in the study material, they've told that bread, from the study perspective, is the different good.
Yeah.
Ma'am, like that, are there any particular goods that are different goods?
No. See, I tell you why bread is so clearly told given good, because bread is an example given by Robert Giffen.
Ha, ma'am.
Okay, Robert Giffen is a statistician, and he is the one who observed this behavior in the England military people, and he said the prices of bread increased, demand for bread increased even when the prices of bread was increasing in the time of war between England and Ireland. So that was the classic example, because the one who has observed this behavior of a consumer, the one who coined this concept, gave the example of bread. So bread is definitely a given good. So in that context, when you come to the Indian context, so definitely ragi, millets, they are all given goods.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, so if they give like 4 items and they tell us to choose the given good, it won't be very confusing.
Usually they won't give 2 inferior goods and tell you what is a given good. They won't do that.
Okay.
Usually they will give 3 normal goods and 1 inferior good, or they may give like conspicuous goods and then a cheap quality good. Then you will know that it is a given good. It may not be a normal good, but they give a expensive goods.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Or see, for example, if there are 4, four items I can think of is sports car, television, mobile, barley. Which one is the given good?
Barley.
So without thinking much, it is easy for you. So if they give barley and ragi, then you are in a confusion. Then nobody can decide that, right? So they usually give that, the given good. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Because all given goods are inferior goods.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. That's it.
Yeah. I was talking about the movement along the demand curve. Okay. If the demand has changed because of price, then you won't draw another demand curve. You show that change in demand in the same demand curve. So that is called movement along the demand curve. The downward movement shows expansion of demand and the upward movement shows contraction of demand. Am I right? Nenpagata? Okay. So ishte nenpitkolli. If demand has changed because of price, then it will either result in expansion of demand or in contraction of demand. If price decreases, expansion of demand. If price increases, contraction of demand. Or in the demand curve, let me just share it. Or in the demand curve, this downward movement shows expansion of demand, upward movement shows contraction of demand. Clear? Downward movement shows expansion of demand, upward movement shows contraction of demand. Okay. Next is shift in demand. Okay. Please remember Rightward shift shows increase in demand. Leftward shift shows decrease in demand. What is rightward shift? Demand curve in the upward idre. This upward shift is increase in demand. Downward shift is decrease in demand. Okay, so this is upward is rightward, downward is leftward, because demand curve is from left to right, downward sloping alva adike. Sorry. So please go through the reasons for the rightward shift. So this can be a possible question, you know, like rightward shift in demand takes place due to increase in the price of substitute goods, due to decrease in the price of substitute goods, and then two other things. So only if you know only if you know that what happens when the price of substitute goods change, then only you will be able to answer such questions. Are you able to understand? So please go through the reasons for the rightward shift and leftward shift in the demand curve. I will share the screen again. You can just go through it. And if you have a doubt, you can ask me so that I can clarify it. Rise in the price of a substitute, fall in the price of a complement, change in taste in favor of this commodity, an increase in population, redistribution of income to groups who favor this commodity. So any of these could be a reason for the rightward shift in the demand curve. So you please remember or go through the reasons for the rightward shift, and rightward shift shows the increase in demand. Okay. Then leftward shift in demand curve. So again, exactly opposite reasons would be the reasons for the leftward shift: fall in income, fall in price of the substitute, rise in the price of a complementary goods, change in taste against the commodity, decrease in population, redistribution of income away from who favor this commodity. Okay. Do you want me to explain any of the concepts here? Clear, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Good. And then elasticity of demand. Definitely expect question from the elasticity of demand, and one question from the price elasticity of demand. So there will be question from income elasticity, cross elasticity and all, but you can expect a question from price elasticity of demand. In microeconomics study, the understanding of elasticity of demand is too important, because that's a kind that has explained many consumers' behavior. Okay, so that's an important discussion happened in microeconomics. So you can definitely expect a question from elasticity of demand. Definitely. Basically, elasticity of demand refers to, it measures the responsiveness of demand to change in its determinants. So if we measure the responsiveness of demand to change in the price, it is called price elasticity of demand. If we measure the responsiveness of demand to a change in income, then it is called income elasticity of demand. If we measure the responsiveness of demand to a change in price of substitute goods, or to a change in price of complementary goods, then it is called cross elasticity of demand. And if we try to measure the responsiveness of demand to a change in advertisement, then it is called advertisement elasticity of demand. Am I clear? Okay, so now in the price elasticity of demand, you can understand 5 types of price elasticity of demand. One is perfectly elastic, and perfectly inelastic, relatively inelastic, and unitary elastic. So please do remember that perfectly elastic, where PED is equal to infinity. Okay, PED is equal to infinity. So when no change in price leads to infinite change in quantity demanded, then it is called perfectly elastic demand. And the demand curve will be horizontal straight line. Demand curve will be horizontal straight line. In perfectly competitive market, you usually see the horizontal straight line as a demand curve, right? And then if the demand curve is vertical straight line, if the demand curve is vertical straight line, then it is called perfectly inelastic demand. That means any change in price leads to no change in quantity demanded. ಬೆಲೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಬಟ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, PED is equal to 0. PED ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ? 0 ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So that's called perfectly inelastic demand. So question might come like, if the demand curve is horizontal straight line, perfectly elastic, perfectly inelastic, relatively inelastic ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. Then you have to say if the demand curve is horizontal straight line, then it is perfectly elastic. If it is vertical straight line, then perfectly inelastic. Then we have relatively elastic or greater than 1. If PED is greater than 1, it is called relatively elastic demand, where small change in price leads to huge change in quantity demanded. Okay, in a relatively elastic demand, small change in price leads to huge change in quantity demanded. And then there is relatively inelastic demand, where PED is less than 1. Huge change in price leads to small change in quantity demanded. ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Huge change in price leads to small change in quantity demanded. And then you have unitary elastic demand, where change in price leads to proportionate change in quantity demanded. Luxury goods are example for relatively elastic, PED greater than 1. Necessary goods are example for PED inelastic, relatively inelastic, that is less than 1. And comfort goods are example for the unitary elastic demand. Am I clear to you? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. Let me just share the screen so that ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟವರೆಗೆ ಏನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ. So that you can recollect the explanation we did. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಇದೆ, ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಇಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಇದೆ, ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಇಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಇದೆ. So this is relatively inelastic. See here, huge change in price leads to small change in quantity demanded. Okay, next is point elasticity. How many of you remember this? Point elasticity ನೆನಪಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಥವಾ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ? Clear with the concept? So at least ಒಂದು ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತಾ? at least you should be able to say that. Okay, see for example, okay, what is the elasticity of demand at Q, at point Q?
0.
It is 0. So here it is at M, it is infinity. Here 0. At O, it is 1. N, like PED is greater than 1. P, PED is less than 1. ಇಷ್ಟಾದ್ರೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು point elasticity of demand ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Clear? Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Good, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, good. So that's okay. How do you calculate it? Remember, lower segment divided by the upper segment. Okay. So, that's about the point elasticity of demand. So that is the diagram. I hope you remember this. And then arc elasticity of demand. Why do we use the arc elasticity of demand? Because point elasticity of demand can be used only when the demand curve is linear. In the non-linear, when you have a convex curve, then in a curve part, when it is, when it is a curve, it is difficult to measure the elasticity. Okay, ivaga itara iddaga, you can measure the elasticity at point A. You can measure the elasticity at point B. Hege formula method, delta Q divided by delta P into P by Q. But what is the elasticity between A and B? It is so difficult. So in that arc, when you want to measure the elasticity, you have to follow arc elasticity method. So Q1 minus Q2 divided by Q1 plus Q2 into P1 plus P2 divided by P1 minus P2. So basically, we are taking the average of quantity and price at both the points, and then we arrive at the arc elasticity. Okay. So remember that, in your exam, if you are expected to calculate the elasticity of demand as per the arc method, in brackets, they're going to give that. Otherwise, you can universally think it as a formula method. Delta Q divided by delta P into P by Q ittala, percentage method ittala, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ consider ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. Okay. If they, otherwise specifically they will mention arc elasticity method. Use the arc elasticity method ಅಂತ ಅವರು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? Good, great. So total outlay method, it is also called as total expenditure method. So this, please remember, it's not about the calculation here. If price and total revenue, okay, or the expenditure, okay, if they move in opposite direction, then PED is greater than 1. If price and total revenue move in an opposite direction, then PED is greater than 1. If price and demand move in the same direction, not demand, price and revenue, or price and expenditure move in the same direction, then PED is less than 1. Whatever may be the change in price, if the total revenue remains the same, total expenditure remains the same, then PED is equal to 1. Clear? Any doubt in this? Yes? Artha agidya? Yeah? Okay. So this is called total outlay method. You can just go through this table. Okay, determinants of price elasticity of demand. We had a long discussion on that. I hope you remember that we discussed why certain goods belong to relatively elastic demand and why certain goods belong to relatively inelastic demand. We had a long discussion on this concept. So if you want me to explain any of these points, okay, you can ask me now. I hope you remember that, right? With substitutes, without substitutes, position of a commodity in a consumer's budget, greater, lesser. So, and then what, what category it falls under, like does it come under relatively elastic demand or relatively inelastic demand? So availability of substitutes, position of a commodity in a consumer's budget, nature of the need that a commodity satisfies, number of uses to which a commodity can be put, time period, consumer habits, weak and strong, tied demand, price range.
What is tied demand?
Tied demand, please think of complementary goods, okay? Certain goods will have its demand depending on some other commodity. See, for example, two-wheeler insurance. Only when more two-wheelers are sold, the two-wheeler insurance demand will also increase. Are you able to understand? So if pens are sold, then inks are in demand. If printers are sold, cartridge are in demand. So that is tied demand.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then income elasticity of demand. So delta Q divided by delta Y into Y by Q. When you calculate the income elasticity of demand, remember, when you calculate the income elasticity of demand, if you get an answer as positive number, 0.5, 0.8, 1.3, 5.6, any positive number, then they are normal goods. If you get an answer negative, minus al bantu antandre, then that is
Inferior goods.
given goods or inferior goods?
Inferior.
It is inferior goods. Given goods are classified on the basis of price, not on the basis of income. So, when you calculate income elasticity, if you get an answer in negative number, with the negative sign, then that is inferior goods. Okay, and there are 5 types of income elasticity of demand. I hope you remember those types. We discussed that too. EI is greater than 1. EI is less than 1. Okay, here first EI is less than 1. First EI, income elasticity is less than 1. Income elasticity is greater than 1. Income elasticity is less than 0. That is inferior goods. Negative. Look at the third example. Yes, negative. Less than 0 andre negative adagaitalva. So this is inferior goods. Okay, and income elasticity is equal to 1. Any commodity, it could be X commodity, it could be anything. So income elasticity is equal to 0. What does this mean? Change in income doesn't make any difference in the purchasing decision. It doesn't make any difference in demand. See, for example, when you want to buy a button, okay, so will you wait for a hike? I mean, if you are working, so if I want to buy a button, will I wait for my hike? Will I wait for the right time to buy it? Will I wait for the prices to come down? Definitely not, because it is so less expensive and it takes so less place in my budget that I don't consider my income at all when I am buying it. I don't even think of it. Do I have? So I just buy it. It is that cheap. So income doesn't make any impact on the decision of buying certain commodities. So such is called income elasticity is equal to 0. Are you able to understand? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then cross elasticity of demand. For substitute goods and complementary goods, we use the cross elasticity of demand. It is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a good to change in the prices of its related goods. Okay, so please do remember that if when you calculate the price of one commodity and demand for another commodity, if you get the answer in a positive with a positive sign, it means that they are
substitute.
They are substitute goods. So if your answer is negative, then they are complementary goods. Are you able to understand? Clear? Yeah, good, great. Then advertisement elasticity. So what happens to the demand when the advertisement expenditure changes? So here you can see 4 types. One, EA is equal to 0. What does that mean? Demand is not responding to the increase in the advertisement expenditure. Okay. And EA is greater than 0 but less than 1. It means that demand is less than proportionate to the change in advertisement expenditure. So expenditure is more. To that extent, demand has not increased. EA is equal to 1. Proportionate change between the expenditure and the demand. EA is greater than 1. Demand changes at a higher rate than the change in advertisement expenditure. So firm might have increased the advertisement expenditure by 10%, but demand might have increased by 30%. Then it is called EA is greater than 1. Are you able to understand? Yeah. And then demand for yeah. So demand forecasting is, guessing the future or guessing the demand in the future with the proper tools. It's not just, it's not according to the whims and fancy of the researcher or the businessman or the entrepreneur. It's with the proper rational thinking and the tools the demand forecasting is done. So please also note down the different types of goods like producers goods, consumers goods, durable goods, non-durable goods, derived demand, autonomous demand. So derived is like tied. Autonomous is independent. Okay, they're just 2 different names. Industry demand and firms demand, short-run demand and long-run demand. I hope you know that the difference between industry and a firm. Firm is a production unit and such group of firms are called industry. Okay. Then methods of demand forecasting: survey method, that could be questionnaire, collective opinion method, expert opinion method, statistical method like, LPP, linear programming, all are, demand forecasting, controlled experiments, restricted experiments, and then barometric method of forecasting. Please do remember this one word might be confusing. The others are self-explanatory. Barometric method of forecasting means where forecasting is done with the previous experience. Okay. See, the previous experiences say that once the world is hit by the pandemic, it won't go in a year or 2. It will stay for 3-4 years. Okay. So that's the barometric method of forecasting. You are saying it because you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but you are saying it out of your past experience. So that is called barometric method of forecasting. Am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt in the first unit of the second chapter? Clear? Okay. One second. Next is unit 2, theory of consumer behavior. One second. I'm not able to open the second one. I'll just see what's the problem. Okay, one second. Okay. I am abusing my laptop, so it is resisting me. From morning, I'm in classes, and today was quite a hectic day. So I hope you're able to see the slide now. Yeah. Okay. So in the second unit of the second chapter, we did discuss about the theory of consumer behavior. This human wants, classification of wants like necessaries, comforts, and luxuries. Utility. What is it? Want satisfying power of a commodity is called utility. Utility can be measured in two ways. One is cardinal utility approach, and another one is ordinal utility approach. Cardinal utility approach is the oldest one. Ordinal utility is the modern one. Cardinal utility approach is given by the classical economists, whereas ordinal utility approach is given by the modern economists like J.R. Hicks and Ellen. So cardinal utility approach believes that utility can be measured in terms of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, whereas ordinal utility approach says that utility cannot be measured in terms of numbers, but it can only be compared and ranked and put it in an order. Okay, so that's why it is called ordinal utility approach. So we did learn a theory called law of diminishing marginal utility, which says that if you continuously consume a same commodity without any time gap, then the marginal utility you derive from each successive unit goes on diminishing. Okay, so this is how it is. Please understand the relationship between TU and MU. Okay, so that is one important aspect. And then consumer surplus. Okay, what consumer is willing to pay and what he actually pays. The difference is called consumer surplus. Right? Then indifference curve analysis, it is a part of ordinal utility approach. Till consumer surplus, it is a part of cardinal utility approach, whereas indifference curve analysis is a part of ordinal utility approach. So what does indifference curve say? Basically, it says that any combination on the indifference curve will give equal level of satisfaction. Okay, so whether a consumer buys A or B, both the bundles will give equal level of satisfaction. Then the group of indifference curves is called indifference map. So marginal rate of substitution refers to the rate at which you are willing to sacrifice Y to have one more unit of X. Every time when you want to buy X, you have to sacrifice Y, right? You know that, right? So that opportunity cost, you know, that if you want to have more of X, then you have to sacrifice some units of Y. And if you want to have more of Y, then you have to sacrifice some units of X. So now marginal rate of substitution is the measurement. It tells how much a consumer is willing to sacrifice, how many units of Y a consumer is willing to sacrifice in order to have one more unit of X. ಒಂದು X ಅನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು Y ಅನ್ನ ಸ್ಯಾಕ್ರಿಫೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಆ ರೇಟ್ ನ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಮಾರ್ಜಿನಲ್ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್? ಯಾ, ಓಕೆ. Properties of indifference curve. Indifference curve slopes downward from left to right. Indifference curves cannot be concave or a straight line. It has to be always convex. So idu alla, I'm sorry. Indifference curve will be always convex. Okay? Because ee thara idre MRS is increasing. When MRS is increasing, you will get a concave curve. When MRS is constant, you get a downward sloping straight line. but MRS is always decreasing. So indifference curve analysis is also known as law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. So MRS is decreasing. That's why you get the convex curve. Am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And then two indifference curve never intersect each other because it is ambiguous. You cannot decide the level of satisfaction. Then a higher indifference curve will give higher level of satisfaction. So any combination on the same indifference curve will give equal level of satisfaction, but higher indifference curve will give higher level of satisfaction. So indifference curve should not touch either axis because at this point and this point, a consumer is consuming only one commodity, whereas we believe that indifference curve is a combination of two commodities. Okay. Budget line is a graphical representation of all possible combination of two goods which a consumer can purchase. So basically, budget line talks about consumers' purchasing power, maximum purchasing power. Whereas budget set talks about all the bundles that a consumer can afford to buy. Okay, consumer's equilibrium is this. The Q is the consumer equilibrium point, because any combination on IC5 or IC4 cannot be consumed because budget line is not there. So he cannot afford to buy it. R, S, Q, T, H, all are the combinations which a consumer can afford to buy, but he won't buy H and R because they are on lower indifference curve. S, Q, T are on the budget line, whereas Q is on IC3, S and T are on IC2. So S, Q, T will cost the same, but Q gives higher satisfaction because it is on IC3. Are you able to understand? So therefore, Q is the equilibrium point for a consumer. This is about the second unit of the second chapter. Any doubt? Artha agidya?
No. Yes,
Yes?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then we will move on to the third unit of the second chapter. I just looked at the time. It's already 5:51. So 1.5 hours, right? Almost 1 second. So okay, the last unit is supply. So if you have understood demand, then it is easy to understand supply, but you have to think from a producer's point of view, not as a consumer. So let me share the screen. Okay, so supply is not what has been produced, that is called output. What comes to the market is supply. So supply refers to what a firm offers for sale in the market for a price. Okay, so that is called supply. Determinants of supply: price of the goods, prices of related goods, price of factors of production, state of technology, government policy, nature of competition, and other factors. So do you want me to explain any of the concepts? So law of supply is exactly opposite to the law of demand. Other things being constant, when price of a commodity increases, supplier would like to increase the sale. Okay, when price of the commodity decreases, supply also decreases. Okay, so supply curve will be always upward sloping straight line. Supply curve will be upward sloping straight line. Okay. Okay. Tell me, in one case, demand curve will also upward sloping straight line. In which case it is?
Different goods.
Huh? Pardon me, I'm not able to hear you.
Ma'am, in case of given goods.
In case of given goods, yes. When the price increases, demand still increases. Okay. Example for supply. Any goods which are offered for sale in the market is supply, like supply of clothes, supply of mask, supply of laptop, supply of Android phones or iPhones. So all these are supply. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 1 second. Sorry. I didn't see the chat. I'm extremely sorry. Ma'am, will you share this PPT after class? This PPT is already been shared, right? You know this. You have these PPTs, right?
Yes, ma'am, but next chapter PPT is not there.
Which chapter?
We have cost, cost and production.
Is it so? Okay, I'll just check. Okay. I did teach that concept, right? No?
Teach, ma'am. Teach.
I thought, but that has not been shared with you, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I will do that then. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that every slide has been shared with you. 1 second. I don't know who is this. Nikita. Okay, do diagrams and explain. Which diagram you want me to do? Which diagram you wanted me to do? Please write it in a chat so that, and I don't want to waste my time. So I will definitely do it. Okay, you please tell me what diagram you want me to draw so that I will do it. Okay. So the law of supply. Okay, so it's always upward sloping straight line. Higher the price, higher will be the supply. Lesser the price, less will be the supply. So again, movement on the supply curve. So here upward movement shows the expansion of demand, downward movement shows the contraction of demand. Whereas in the law of demand, downward movement shows the expansion of demand and upward movement shows the contraction of demand. So don't get confused. Learn the demand concept very clearly and keep it in your mind that exact opposite is the supply. Okay? Are you clear about
Yes,
the movement? Next, shift in supply curve. Rightward shift shows the increase in supply, but that rightward shift is always downward. Upward shift shows the decrease in supply, but the upward shift is always, but here it is leftward. Are you able to understand? See, like in demand, let me just draw this. In demand, this is the demand curve, right? Rightward shift is upward. So I'll write here, rightward is equal to upward. Okay. And leftward shift is downwards. Leftward shift means decrease. That leftward shift is upwards. Did I confuse you, Sachindra?
No, ma'am. No.
No? So are you able to understand? Just
Yes.
remember this, okay? Just remember this. In case of demand and supply, in both the cases, okay? Rightward shift is increase. Leftward shift is decrease. Don't get confused in that. In case of demand and supply, rightward shift is increase. Leftward shift is decrease. But because of the change in the direction of the curves, because demand curve is downward sloping from left to right, whereas supply curve is upward sloping from left to right. So because of that nature, rightward shift in demand is upward shift. Leftward shift is downward shift. Whereas in supply, rightward shift is downward shift. Leftward shift is upward shift. Am I clear to you? Only when you have this clarity, you will be able to understand the fourth chapter, that equilibrium points, simultaneous shift in demand and supply, shift in, both demand curves, both demand and supply shift towards left, shift towards right, and then demand shift towards right and supply shift towards left. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲದು ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದರ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಟಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ. Are you clear? Any doubt? Okay, good, great. So decrease in supply is leftward shift or upward shift. Then elasticity of supply, delta Q divided by delta P into P by Q. Here Q is quantity supplied, not quantity demanded. Okay. So you have perfectly elastic supply, relatively. What is perfectly elastic supply? See here. Oh, sorry, it is inelastic. Perfectly elastic, perfectly elastic supply. When a supply curve is horizontal straight line, please do remember two cases, perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic. In these two cases, both supply curve and demand curve will look alike. Same irutte. So perfectly elastic supply curve is horizontal straight line. No change in price leads to infinite change in quantity supplied. In perfectly inelastic supply, PS is equal to 0, where any change in price leads to no change in quantity supplied. Okay, and then we have relatively less elastic supply. In the relatively less elastic supply, PS is less than 1. Okay, PS is less than 1. Huge change in price leads to small change in supply. Relatively elastic supply, more than 1. Small change in price leads to huge change in supply. Unitary elastic supply, where PS is equal to 1, where change in price leads to proportionate change in supply. So if you have understood the price elasticity of demand, it's not that difficult to understand the price elasticity of supply. Am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Next one is equilibrium. Okay, demand says that when price increases, demand decreases. Whereas supplier says that when price increases, he would like to sell more. Then when does the real buying and selling takes place? That's called equilibrium, where demand, this is the point of equilibrium, where demand is equal to supply. Okay, and this is called equilibrium price, and this is called equilibrium quantity. So you can understand it through this table. So at rupees 30, demand is 60, supply is also 60. Okay, demand is equal to supply. So this is the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt? So this is about the second chapter, theory of demand and supply. Oh, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good, great. So next is, one second. So any doubt in the second chapter? I hope not. Okay, so now we will move on to chapter 3, production and cost. It has 2 units. One is theory of production and another one is theory of cost. Okay, one second. Okay. Is this PPT is useful for you to study?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
As for the third unit, I'm extremely sorry. I didn't realize that I didn't share it with you. I thought that I already sent it to Chinmay. So I'll do it today, okay? Immediately after this class, I'll just send it to you, okay? So theory of production of chapter 3, unit 1. So what is production? Factors of production, land, labor, capital, organization, and I hope you also know the rewards. Land gets rent, labor gets wages, capital gets interest, and the organization gets profit. Entrepreneurs' objectives like organic objectives, economic objectives. These are all the very, very theoretical concepts. You can just go through your source material. Enterprises problems. Now, production function. Okay, the production function explains the relationship between input and output. So when you increase the input, outputs are supposed to increase, at least for a certain time. Okay. And then short-run production function. Please remember this point. Okay. The short run and long run is not decided on the basis of time, but decided on the basis of factors of production. The factors of production are of two types, fixed factors and variable factors. What are fixed factors? The factors which do not change along with the level of output are called fixed factors. So production 0 irli, 10 irli, factors ashte idre adanna navenanta karitivi andre input ashte idre navu adanna enanta karitivi fixed factor input anta karitivi. So if the factor input changes along with the level of output, then they are called variable factor inputs. So please do remember that fixed factor inputs are those factors which do not change along with the level of output, and variable factor inputs are those factors which do change along with the level of output. Okay, and then in the short run, there will be both fixed and variable factors, whereas in the long run, there will only be variable factors, no fixed factors, because producer would have had enough time to change every factor input. Got it? Am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? Okay. Then Cobb-Douglas production function. I hope you remember that, Cobb and Douglas, they are the economists who did the survey of 1,000 industries in the United States, and they realized, that is the production function.
Ma'am?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, could you explain this once, ma'am?
Cobb-Douglas production function?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I won't explain it technically, okay? It's a lot of mathematical derivation, but just for your understanding and from the examination point of view, I'm just going to explain this. See here, this is expressed in different ways, okay? So QD is equal to L alpha into K beta and all. So this talk about okay, from the examination point of view, you just need to remember that if A plus B is equal to 1, okay, then it is constant returns to scale. Okay, if A plus B is greater than 1, then increasing returns to scale. If A plus B is less than 1, then decreasing returns to scale. Let me tell you that, Cobb-Douglas, they said that the industries are experiencing constant returns to scale. Okay, so basically output depends on labor and capital. Okay, so alpha is output elasticity of labor, beta is output elasticity of capital. That means how much does the output changes when capital changes, And what is output elasticity of labor? What is the extent of change in output due to change in labor? Elasticity concept ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ apply ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. Are you with me? Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So see here. So if I think this diagram will also help you to understand this. See here, what is happening? There is a constant returns to scale. When capital and labor are increasing, the output is also increasing with the same, to the same extent. Okay, so that is called constant returns to scale. That's what Cobb Douglas observed in the American industries when they did the research for almost 1,000 industries. Okay.
Okay.
Are you able to understand? I think you have to understand this part from the examination point of view.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And then total product, average product, marginal product. I hope you remember all these concepts. You also know the formulas to calculate this. And then we did discuss two theories. One is for the short run, law of variable proportions, and another one is long run, law of returns to scale. So law of variable proportion says that when you keep certain goods fixed, certain factors fixed, and when you change certain factors, then what happens? The proportion between the fixed and variable factors will change in such a way that marginal product will go through three stages. They are increasing returns, diminishing returns, and negative returns. Okay, and returns to scale is a law in the long run production analysis. So here it says that when there are only variable factors, then the firm will go through, marginal product will go through three stages: increasing returns, constant returns, and diminishing returns. There are no negative returns in the long run. Okay, and then isoquants. You have learned the concept of indifference curve. It is almost the similar logic, but from the producer's point of view. Isoquant is the curve which represent all those combination of inputs which give equal level of output. Okay, see here, whether you go for A combination or B combination, C, D, or E, any combination would give 200 units. Output will remain same. But of course, in A combination, you will use more of Y factor and less of X factor. Maybe let's say labor and capital. In A combination, you use more of capital and less of labor. Whereas in E combination, you use more of labor and less of capital. But still, whatever combination as a producer you choose, your level of output will remain the same. That is what isoquant curve says. It's also called as equal product curve. And then isocost curve. It is also known as budget line. It is the combination of two factors which firm can buy with the given outlay. That means given expenditure. Okay, this is called isocost. This is what a firm can spend. See, budget line tells what a consumer can spend. Isocost says what a producer can spend. He can only invest so much money in the process of production. Okay, so least cost combination factor. So every producer would like to produce more at least cost, right? So this would be the least cost. One second, A, B, C, D, E, all are on the isoquant P. Okay, maybe let's say 500 units. If you choose A combination, B combination, C combination, or D combination, or E combination, you would end up producing 500 units. but still you will choose C combination because C is on M1 iso cost, whereas BD is on N iso cost, A is on Q1 iso cost, which are higher. Higher the iso cost line, higher will be the cost, right? Why do you want to spend more and produce 500 units when you can produce 500 units for lesser cost? Are you with me? Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
As a producer, you would like to produce more at lesser cost, right? That's when you are in equilibrium as a producer. Am I right? So C would be the ideal choice of a supplier or a producer. Are you able to understand? Any doubt? Clear with the concept? Okay. And then next one is, one second. Theory of cost. One second. Okay. So what is cost? You know the difference between price and cost, right? We started the discussion with that. Price is the market value of a product, whereas cost is the expenses incurred in producing a product, right? So when you buy a specs, okay, that or anything, specs, its price would be 1,500 rupees, but its cost could be only 400 rupees, right? So cost is what is incurred in producing a product, and price is the market value of the product. That is the value at which the producers are selling the goods. So now, one second. There are different types of costs that you need to discuss. One is accounting cost and another one is economic cost. By the way, students, do you find any disturbance from my side? Can you only hear my voice, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so accounting cost and economic cost, and then you have, one second. And I hope you have gone through. I will definitely send this. Okay, I think it's going to help you. So I'll send it immediately after this class. I will send it to Sandhya. Whom should I send, or Chinmay? Someone. Okay, so she will share it with you. Outlay cost and opportunity cost, direct traceable cost and indirect non-traceable cost, incremental cost and sunk cost, historical cost and replacement cost, private cost and social cost, fixed and variable cost. Okay. Do you want me to explain any of this cost? Yavudaದ್ರು type explain madbeka. Maybe once I share the notes, you will be able to understand it better because it is very clearly given with the examples. Shall I move on? Yeah. So this is how the cost curves will look like. So you just need to understand this cost curves. Okay. So please do remember that AC and MC curves are U-shaped curves, whereas AP and MP curves are inverted U-shaped curves. Okay. These are long run cost curves. Okay. I will share this. Okay, in this chapter, please remember that in the short run, we will have both fixed factors as well as variable factors. As a result, you will have both, fixed cost curves and variable cost curves. So you will have average fixed cost curves, average variable cost curves, etc. Now, in the long run, you will have only the variable factors. So you won't have any fixed factors. So you will have only long run average cost and long run marginal cost. Okay. And then in the cost concepts, please do remember that cost curves, okay, MC and AC are U-shaped, whereas AP and MP are inverted U-shaped. That could be one possible question that they might ask. 1 second. Oh, 1 minute. I want a blank space to draw it. So, yeah. MC, okay, and AC. These curves are U-shaped. What do you mean by U-shaped? Actually, MC curve will look like a Nike
K-shaped.
Yeah, right shape. So why is it called U-shaped? If cost decreases initially, and after some point, if it increases, then it is called U-shaped. It may not be exactly like letter U, still it is called U-shaped. Whereas AP and MP are inverted U-shape. Okay, AP and MP are inverted U-shape. What does that mean? If initially the unit increases, and after sometimes if the output decreases, then it is called inverted U-shape. Okay, so please remember these concepts. Clear? So this, I think, in the production and cost, this is what you need to understand. Any doubt? Clear with the concept?
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Clear.
Okay. Did you do the cost tables? How to calculate AFC, AVC and all? I think we discussed that, right? So you are very clear about it, right? How to calculate MC, how to calculate AVC and all, right? We did the cost tables. Next, this is about the third chapter. So do you have any doubt in the third chapter?
No.
Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then as the fourth chapter, before going to the fourth chapter, I'll just finish off the fifth chapter, which I discussed, and then I will go back to the fourth chapter, which sir has discussed. Okay. So 1 second. Okay, because fifth is the smallest chapter and easiest one too. So I'll just finish up that, and then the rest of the time we can focus on the fourth chapter, which is quite big. 1 second. Did I share the business cycle slides with you?
No, ma'am.
How bad of me. Okay. Okay, I'll share all the chapters, okay? Okay, in business cycle, you know that, the economy will pass through 4 different stages. Expansion, peak, recession, and trough, or you can also call it as depression. So expansion, peak, contraction, and depression are the 4 different phases of business cycles. These are the features. Please go through all the features of different phases. So you will know if a question is asked, you will be able to answer. I think the questions will be either on the features or on the causes. And these are the examples for the business cycles. So causes are of 2 types, internal causes and external causes. Internal causes are the causes which happens within the economy, and external causes are which happens outside the firm. Okay, so those are the external causes. Wars, post-war reconstruction, technology shocks, natural factors, population growth, etc. are the external causes. Internal causes are fluctuations in effective demand, fluctuations in investment, variations in government spending, macroeconomic policies, money supply, and psychological factors. Okay, so they are the reasons, they are the internal reasons for the business cycle. Please go through the features of all the 4 stages: expansion, peak, contraction, and depression. What is marginal efficiency of capital? What do you expect from today's investment in future? Is marginal efficiency of capital. Like if you want, will you invest in Bangalore or in Gulbarga? If you have money, where do you want to buy land? In Bangalore or Gulbarga? Though Bangalore prices are high, you would like to invest in Bangalore because you know that MEC is higher. Marginal efficiency of capital. What can you expect from your today's investment is definitely greater in Bangalore compared to Gulbarga, right? So that is called MEC, marginal efficiency of capital. So any doubt? 5th chapter is the easiest one. You can expect 1 question, probably 1 or 2, not more than that, from the entire chapter. Okay. Any doubt in the 5th chapter? Ma'am, if you don't mind, if you share all the papers once again from chapter 1. Yeah, Rohan, I don't mind. I can definitely share. I think these PPTs will help you to glance. You don't have to go through the entire, but you have to read your resource book. Once you finish that, then you can definitely go through the PPTs. Okay. So these are the chapters that I have covered. So do you have any doubt in this? From 1st chapter, 1st to 1, 2, 3, and 5th chapter. Any doubt? If you want me to explain any of the diagram, if you want me to explain any of the concept, please tell me. This is your last chance to get it clarified. In these 4 chapters, and then I will definitely move to the 4th chapter, market, because that will take more time.
Ma'am?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, there's a diagram of law of variable proportions, no, ma'am? Ma'am, what is the inflection point there? Why is it important?
Shall I just share the screen and then 1 second?
Yes, ma'am.
Tired students? Are you bored? Artha agta hai idya? It was
Yes, ma'am.
Was it of some help? 1 second, I'll just share the screen. Yes, Harshita, can you please tell me which point would you like to know?
Ma'am, I think here between 1 and 2, there will be something called an inflection point, ma'am.
No. That's actually 1 and 3, right?
Ma'am, the inflection point, ma'am. That's
See, I just tell you one thing that, you have to understand the relationship between TP, AP, and MP. Okay, the question might ask, actually, question might be on the relationship between AP and MP. So, do you have a table here? Yeah, see here. You have a table here. Maybe this would be easier for you to understand. Okay.
Yes.
Look here. Initially, both TP and MP are increasing. Okay, both TP and MP are increasing, but MP is greater than TP. Okay, that's the first point. Both AP and MP are increasing, but MP is above AP. And after that, after a certain point, at one point, MP intersects AP. Okay, there's a point of intersection. Okay, after that, what happens? Both decrease. But look at the slope. MP decreases faster than AP. So MP will be below AP and it is inverted U shape. Okay, it is inverted U shape. So this is the relationship you need to know. Okay. Got it, Harshita?
Yes, ma'am.
Others. Okay. Rohan, can you please
sorry.
Huh?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, so inflection point as such is not very important. Ma'am, here, ma'am, in our study material, ma'am, can you see there's something called an inflection point?
Yeah, I have a study material. 1 second, let me share that. 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. Clarify all your doubt. Don't worry. I have a study material. I'll just share it. Can you see the study material?
Yes, ma'am.
All of you?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Yes, ma'am, this diagram.
Okay, Harshita.
Yes, ma'am.
Or anybody. I'm not just teaching Harshita. I'm sorry because she asked the question, so I'm taking her name. So can you hear me? Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am. Now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, this TP is also saying the same thing. Okay. So in the first stage, okay, in the first stage, what happens is you have to understand the relationship in two ways. One in AP and MP, and another one between TP and MP.
Yes.
Okay. So when MP is increasing, TP is constantly increasing. Okay. After a certain point, it decreases. So in the stage 1, okay, in the stage 1, TP is increasing, MP is also increasing, AP is also increasing. In TP is increasing, but MP and AP are falling. Okay. In stage 3, TP is at its peak. Okay, and MP is at 0. When TP is at its peak, that it's 0, and then after that point, in the third stage, TP starts falling and MP becomes negative.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so basically what's happening here is that inflection point only says that here total product is increasing at increasing rate. After certain point, increases but at decreasing rate in the second stage. Okay, and in the third stage, total product starts falling.
Okay, ma'am.
Am I clear to you?
Ma'am, I understand, ma'am, but I'm just asking.
One second. No, give me 1 second because I'll miss out this chat. In case of inferior goods, the expansion in demand due to price fall will take place only if the substitution effects outweighs the income effect. Okay. If substitution effect is greater than the income effect, then only the price will it only means that substitution effect has to be greater than the income effect. In the price effect, the price effect has two parts, right? One is substitution effect and another one is income effect. Okay, that if substitution effect is greater than income effect, okay, then in case of the inferior goods, the expansion in demand due to a price fall will take place. Yeah, in case of inferior goods, not in case of normal goods. Please do remember, in all other cases, we discuss the diagram considering the normal goods, not the inferior goods. In case of inferior goods, that's what's gonna happen. Am I audible to you?
Ma'am, your video is lagging.
Oh. 1 second. But can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Ma'am, voice audible.
Okay. Now that it is already 6:35, shall we move on to the 4th chapter, because that's an important chapter, market structure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, can you hear me? I think it's lagging, or maybe
Ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
internet is stable. I don't know why. What's the problem? Students, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Can you hear us?
But I'm not able to, hear your reaction. So that's why I'm confused. Okay. So Harshita, did I clear your doubt?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Varun, okay, thank you so much. I don't know who has asked this question in the chat box. I'll come back to this question, okay? Who is this? Chandan. Okay,
Yes,
Chandan,
ma'am.
I'll come back to this question. I just want to cover the 4th chapter and then I'll come back to this question. And Rohan, you also asked me to explain the diseconomies. That too, I will come back, okay? Okay, 4th chapter has 3 units, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, 1 second. I haven't prepared a PPT for it, but I would like to cover the concepts that has been discussed in this. Or if you want any of the concepts, I would like to do it. But I mean, it is a quite a big chapter, so I definitely cannot explain all the concepts. But just remember that market is not a geographical area. That's the first thing you need to remember. Market is an arrangement, okay, where buyers and sellers meet directly or indirectly to buy and sell goods and services. Is my video still lagging?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Little bit.
Um, Students, shall we take a break of 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes? I will just check the modem once and come. Okay, it's in another room.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Like it's already 2 hours, so we will take a break of 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, drink water and all, and then we will be back in 4 minutes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Students, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it better?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Oh.
ma'am.
Oh, that's great. Sorry. Okay. So market is an arrangement where buyers and sellers meet directly or indirectly to buy and sell the goods and services. So in the market, you might have gone through all the different types of market on the basis of time period, on the basis of locality, on the basis of intervention like regulated market, unregulated market, and all. So then classification of the market on the basis of number of producers. That's the important concept. That is, the market is classified as perfectly competitive market and imperfectly competitive market, or non-competitive market, or imperfect competition. Do remember that perfectly competitive market doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so it was a concept which was developed by the classical economist in 17th century, 18th century. But in today's market, we do not find the perfectly competitive market. We are living in imperfectly competitive market or non-competitive market. Okay, so the first chapter is all about, in the fourth chapter, the first unit is all about the perfectly competitive market. So 1 second, I can just share this study material, and I can go through if you have any doubt in any of the concepts, then I would like to explain it. But otherwise, generally, I'll explain this. So you have understood the concept of total revenue, average revenue, and marginal revenue, right? And one more thing, very important, that revenue is not what you, revenue is earned by a firm only by selling the goods, not by producing the goods. So please do understand that when you sell the goods, a firm will earn the revenue, not when you, or not when a firm produces the goods. So these are the how to calculate AR, TR by Q, and how to calculate TR, P into Q, and how to calculate marginal revenue, TRN minus TRN minus 1. Do you have any doubt in the calculation of these concepts, these things? And then in perfectly competitive market, okay, price is equal to AR is equal to MR. They are horizontal straight line. Now, come back to the price elasticity of demand. Do you remember perfectly elastic demand, where demand curve was a horizontal straight line, and I told you that there is no example for it? Do you remember that, right? No change in price leads to infinite change in quantity demanded. Now look at the demand curve of a perfectly competitive market. So why are we studying that perfectly elastic demand? Because this is what the classical economists believed in. Why don't we have an example today? Because we don't live in a perfectly competitive market anymore. Okay, we feel that the market is, it's not that what we feel, the reality is that, the market is not perfectly competitive, it is imperfect competition. Okay, so please understand perfectly elastic demand and the demand curve in the perfectly competitive market, because in a perfectly competitive market, every seller is a price taker, not a price maker. Correct? I hope you know all these concepts, right? Okay, so if you have a doubt, you just ask me, okay? I will be just going through the important concepts. This is elasticity, the relationship between AR, MR, and TR, and price elasticity of demand. Okay, you don't have to calculate, the calculation part won't come. You just have to remember that if elasticity is greater than 1, MR will be positive. If elasticity is less than 1, then MR will be negative. Okay, just remember that point. Behavior principles, okay, you can just go through it. What is the profit maximization point? In the classical economics, they always believed that the demand and supply will always be equal. So that point will be the profit maximization. So even here, when MR is equal to MC, okay, When MR is equal to MC, that is the point of profit maximization. But remember that in perfectly competitive market, MR, price, demand, AR, all are same. Okay. And this is about the first unit. So do you have any doubt in the first unit of the fourth chapter? Okay. And then let me go through the second unit. One second. Determination of prices. Okay. In the determination of prices, this is how the equilibrium price is determined. You have already studied this concept in the third chapter 2, in the second chapter 2. Supply admele ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನೇ ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ರಿ. Second chapter ಅಲ್ಲಿ, third unit ಅಲ್ಲಿ you have discussed this concept. Where demand equals supply would be the equilibrium point. But so can you see that in the diagram? So where demand is equal to supply, that is the equilibrium point. At rupees 2, 35 is the demand. The supplier, the consumer would like to buy, and the supplier is also ready to sell 35 units. So 35 is the quantity demanded and supplied, and rupees 2 is the equilibrium price. So do you know this diagram? What does this say? What happens when price increases? What happens when price decreases? How there will be surplus of goods and how there will be shortage of goods. Are you clear with this stable equilibrium diagram?
Ma'am, can you explain that, ma'am?
Okay. One second. Be with me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is demand and this is supply. Okay. This is the equilibrium point. Okay, this is the equilibrium point, and so this is the equilibrium price, and this is the equilibrium quantity demanded and supply. Please remember that whenever I talk about the market equilibrium, it includes both demand and supply. Please understand what happens if, see, first of all, the classical economists believe that, okay, the classical economists believe that the price will be always at its equilibrium position. So in the short run, the price may increase or decrease, but demand and supply forces, that's what Adam Smith called invisible hand. But in the short run, demand and supply forces will work in such a way that it will bring back the price to the equilibrium position. Are you able to understand?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So basically now we are trying to analyze that with the help of this diagram. Okay, be with me. Let's say that price increases to P1. Okay, let's say that price increases to P1. This is demand and this is supply. So when price increases to P1, this will be demand and this will be supply. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What is greater than what now? Supply is greater than demand, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it is called excess supply. Okay.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
called excess supply. So when supply is greater than demand, what happens to the price?
It will reduce.
It will reduce, of course, right? See, what happens to the price of vegetables in the evening, in the night? right? So ivaga signal alli hoo maroru 5 o'clock in the evening they will quote higher price, but 9 in the night they will quote lower price for the same flower. Why? The demand is less, supply is already there, the goods have reached the market. Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So when price increases, moves above the equilibrium price, what happens? Supply will be greater than demand. So then demand and supply forces would act in such a way that price will be pulled back to the equilibrium price. Are you able to understand? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I will move on to the next one, P2. Okay. If price decreases, okay, if price decreases, then this is the supply. Okay. This is the, if you're not talking to me, please mute yourself. This is the supply and this is the demand. Now demand is greater than supply. Now demand is greater than supply. When supply is less, demand is more, what happens to the price?
It increases, ma'am.
Increases.
Prices will definitely increase. Look at the price of petrol, right? So it will push up the price to the equilibrium point. When price moves above the equilibrium point, then supply will be greater than demand. As a result, the price will pull down. When price moves below the equilibrium point, then demand will be greater than supply, so price is pushed up. This is what the classical economists call it as invisible hand. It is not the government, it is not the businessman, it is not the consumer who bring back the price to the equilibrium point. It is the demand and supply forces, working of demand and simultaneous working of demand and supply forces, which will ensure the equilibrium price in the long run. This is what the classical economists believed. This is the stable equilibrium diagram. Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am. Understood,
When
ma'am.
price is lesser, shortage of supply. When price is greater, excess of supply.
Yes, ma'am.
Clear?
Thank you, ma'am.
Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, great. So then changes in demand and supply. Do you remember that while explaining the shifts in demand, I told you that you need to understand the shifts in demand and shift in supply in a right manner, because these changes in demand and supply can be understood only when you understand this. Okay. An increase in demand, a decrease in demand, an increase in supply, a decrease in supply. Can you understand this diagram?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any doubt in this diagram? You just need to understand that supply being constant, when demand increases, then what the new equilibrium point is achieved, and price and quantity both will increase. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Supply being constant, when demand decreases, new equilibrium point is achieved and both price and demand decreases. Clear? Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Then third one, demand being constant when supply increases. Demand being constant when supply increases. Remember, new equilibrium point is achieved, price decreases, demand, quantity increases. Not demand, quantity increases. Quantity demanded and supplied. Okay. Price. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next one, demand being constant when supply decreases, price increases, and quantity supplied decreases. Equilibrium price increases and quantity supplied decreases. Definitely question will be asked from these concepts, either from this or from the simultaneous shifts. So do not try to answer by hearting it. you can quickly draw the diagram and see what are the changes. So if you really know the shifts, you can quickly draw the diagram and see the changes and mark the right answer, because it's very confusing otherwise. Okay. And then simultaneous change in demand and supply. Okay, don't get, I hope you're clear with the concept, but still, you know, what happens? Okay. Are you able to understand this better? ಈ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಈಸಿ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಥವಾ ನಾನು ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಹೇಳಲಾ? Shall I? Are you clear with this concept? Do you want me to explain this concept? Clear? What happens? Okay. Let me just, just a recap, okay? It's not that you don't know it. I cannot just move on. So that's the reason. Okay, 1 second. Simultaneous shifts, 4 cases. 1, increase in demand and increase in supply. 2, decrease in demand and decrease in supply. 3, increase in demand and decrease in supply. 4, decrease in demand and increase in supply. Am I right? These are the 4 situations. Now you just need to know what happens to the price and what happens to the demand. I mean, quantity demanded and quantity supplied. What happens to the equilibrium price and what happens to the equilibrium quantity? Okay. Can anyone say? 1 second. What happens here?
Equilibrium price increases.
When both demand and supply increases, equilibrium price increases. What happens to the quantity? Does it decrease, Pavan? Are you sure?
Increases, ma'am.
What happens to the quantity?
It increases, ma'am, as demand and supply both are increasing.
When demand and supply both are increasing, what happens to the quantity?
It remains constant.
Now you are in confusion, right? That's why you need to draw the diagrams. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See here. D to D1, increase in demand. S to S1, increase in supply. Right? D to D1, increase in demand, increase in supply. What is happening to the price?
Constant.
What is happening to the demand or quantity?
Increasing.
Yes. When one second. When the second diagram, okay. Where is the second diagram? Okay. What happens when demand increases and supply decreases? See, S to S1 is decrease in supply. D to D1 is increase in supply. When demand increases, supply decreases. What happens to the demand and supply? I'm sorry, price and quantity demanded and supplied? Price increases. Yes?
Price increases and quantity.
Price increases.
Quantity decreases.
Quantity decreases. Okay? Right? Price increases and quantity decreases. So,
Ma'am?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, won't it depend on the rate at which they both happen, ma'am? Like if if demand increases by X amount and supply increases by X amount or decreases by X amount, then like we know that quantity gets affected by a certain amount. Otherwise, like the difference will be we won't
Still,
know.
you know, even when, see, there are in your resource book, they have shown, right? See what happens when there is a huge difference in the change in demand and a small difference in the change in supply. There are different cases also, but still certain, the behavior, you know, the certain things are determined, you know, that is fixed. Okay. So, okay, let me just draw the things, then things would be easier for you to understand. See here. Okay, this is demand curve. Increase in demand. Okay. DSS equilibrium point, quantity, price. Okay. Now, demand has increased to D1. Supply has also increased to S1. Okay. The quantity has increased.
Yes.
And price has remained the same. But price, as you said, what if the proportion is not exactly same? Now it is almost exactly same proportionate, you know, the demand has, supply has changed in the proportionate way. So the price has remained the same. Otherwise, price may increase, price may decrease, but quantity will definitely increase. That is the definite thing.
Oh,
Are you able to understand?
yes,
When
ma'am.
demand and supply both increase, okay, then price, the quantity is definitely going to increase, but price may increase, price may decrease, or price may remain constant. It is dependent on the proportionate at which the supply and demand changes. Am I clear
Yes.
to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, this is demand. Demand decreases to D2. This is supply. This is the original equilibrium, quantity, price, and supply decreases to S2. I'm sorry, I'm doing really bad. Okay. Now, this is the new equilibrium point. Okay. Now, Q2, the quantity has decreased. Again here, price has increased, but it may not be so. Price may increase, price may decrease, price may remain constant, but quantity will definitely decrease. Okay, that is the case. That depends on the proportion. Am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so remember it in this way. When there is a simultaneous change in demand and supply, okay, if both of them increase, if demand and supply, both of them increase, quantity is definitely going to increase. Okay, but price may increase, price may decrease, price may remain constant. It depends on the proportion at which demand and supply changes. Okay, when both of them decrease, demand and supply, when both of them decrease, quantity is definitely going to decrease. Quantity demanded and quantity supplied, because both of them are decreasing. So quantity is definitely going to decrease, but price may increase, price may decrease, price may remain constant, unchanged, not constant, unchanged. Am I clear? Thanks, Harshita, for asking that question. Otherwise, I would not have touched upon it.
Yes.
So, clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Next, okay, let me see. That's why I said, I told you that, you know, please draw a Chotu diagram before answering the question, so that it will be easier for you. Okay, you won't be in a dilemma. Okay, and then let me move on to the next one. This is, one second. Okay, now third and fourth situation. Sorry. Sorry, extremely sorry. Okay. Supply, demand. Okay. Now, this is the equilibrium point, equilibrium quantity, equilibrium price. Now, demand increases. Okay. Supply decreases. Correct? E2. P2. So, price will definitely increase. Quantity may remain unchanged, quantity may decrease, or quantity may increase according to the proportion of change. Am I clear?
Yes.
Okay, next one. Original demand, original supply, equilibrium point, price, and quantity. Now, supply increases, S1, demand decreases, D2. Price will definitely decrease. Price will definitely decrease. Quantity may increase, quantity may decrease, or quantity may remain constant. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall I just recap it? Ondsala ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. And ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಆ diagrams ನ imagine ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Sorry. When there is simultaneous shift in demand and supply, when both demand and supply move in the same direction. Listen to me. When both demand and supply move in the same direction, price may increase, price may decrease, price may remain unchanged. But quantity is definitely going to change in a particular direction. Clear? When
Yes, ma'am.
demand and supply both increases, quantity definitely going to increase. Price helakagala. It may increase, may decrease, may remain unchanged. When demand and supply both decreases, quantity definitely is going to decrease. Price may increase, price may decrease, price may remain unchanged. Clear? When demand and supply move in the same direction, price is uncertain. We cannot decide that. But quantity move is certain. If both of them increase, quantity also increases. If both of them decrease, quantity decreases. Clear? Equilibrium quantity decreases. Am I clear? Yeah. And then if price and if demand and supply move in the opposite direction, okay, if demand and supply move in the opposite direction, we cannot tell about quantity. It depends upon the proportion. Quantity may increase, quantity may decrease, quantity may remain constant, but price has a definite direction. Okay, price has a definite direction. So now don't get confused. I'm sharing the diagram again because few people are still confused. See here, quantity idu gottilla, but price definite agi one direction ide. If demand increases and supply will increase. If supply increases and demand decreases, price will decrease. Law of demand, law of supply correct agi gottidru idu nimge gottagutte. Common sense, logic apply ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಅವಾಗ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನೇ ತಾನೇ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ನಾವು. ಸೊ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ರೈಟ್? ಆಮ್ ಐ ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್. Quantity we cannot say. It may increase, it may decrease, it may remain constant, unchanged. It is according to the proportion. Am I clear? Sachindra, tired? Am I clear? Pavan, yeah, good, great. So this is about the simultaneous shift in demand and supply. And the previous one was one where, when supply is constant, what happens to demand? When demand is constant, what happens to supply? That you can understand with the movement along shift in demand and shift in supply. You almost adanne kaltiddira. So is there any doubt? Are you clear? Yeah, good, great. So, okay, this is about the second chapter and the last unit. I'm left with another 15 minutes. It's already 1 second. This is about the non-competitive market. Okay, different market ali hege price na decide ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ನೀವು third chapter ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. So I'll just share the yeah. So you can expect a question from that simultaneous shift, okay? And then price determination under perfect competition. This already been discussed. I hope you remember that, and I hope you have understood this.
Yes.
Gottala?
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is the for individual seller. The second diagram is for the individual seller because he's a price taker, but the first one is in the market. And then you have so okay, one more thing. I'm sure you know about it, but still in this time period, I think I can only explain that. That is, you know it, right? In economics, what in layman terms, what we call profit, that is considered as abnormal profit or supernormal profit. What is considered as break-even point in your business studies, that is considered as normal profit. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, clear? Okay. So zero profit is called normal profit. Is called abnormal or supernormal profit. And when cost is more than revenue, then it is called loss. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, clear? I hope you know about that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So where MR is equal to, and what are the conditions to achieve the profit? P should be equal to MR, and MC should cut the MR curve from below, and price should be greater than or equal to minimum of AVC. These are the conditions, okay? Those things are explained here. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, and in monopoly, what happens? There is only single seller. And in the perfect competition, demand curve is horizontal straight line. Whereas in the monopoly, the demand curve is vertical straight line. Okay. So, but the conditions will remain the same. So MR should cut, MR curve should cut the, sorry, MC curve should cut the MR curve from below, and MC should be equal to MR, and then AVC should be greater than, the price should be greater than AVC or average cost, AC. So then you will have normal profit or abnormal profit according to the situation where ATC is fixed. AC will decide it. Okay. And then in the monopoly, you can have the price discrimination. That is charging different prices to the same commodities for different customers. So first degree price discrimination, second degree price discrimination, and third degree price discrimination is there. Most of the times we will be in third degree price discrimination. Are you with me? Is my video
Yes, ma'am.
lagging?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Because I am not able to, receive your response immediately, so I'm a little confused. Okay, it's okay. If you, as long as you are able to hear me, that should be okay. And then the same goes with the monopolistic competition also. The conditions would be same, and AR and MR curves are also the same. Okay. Please go through these diagrams. They are very important. If you, and then oligopoly is a market where there are few sellers, and oligopoly will have kinked demand curve. Okay, so this is what you have learned in the last chapter of the last unit of the 4th chapter. Do you want me to explain any of your questions? Will be on these diagrams, like, whether it is a supernormal profit or a normal profit or a loss.
Yes. Ma'am?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Ma'am, could you explain price discrimination once in a monopoly?
Yes, Harshita. I'm sorry, Harshita. I don't know. Somehow I'm not able to hear you. Hear any
Ma'am,
of
can you hear me?
Um,
Can you hear me, ma'am?
I can hear. Oh, again, I'm lost. I'm not able to hear you.
Ma'am, you can hear me now?
Yes. Now, yes. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, could you explain price discrimination in a monopoly?
Huh. Okay. Listen to me carefully. You might have get a question from this. Price discrimination refers to charging different prices to the same product for different customers. That is called price discrimination, which couldn't have been done in the perfectly competitive market. Okay. And then there are 3 types of price discrimination: first degree price discrimination, second degree price discrimination, and third degree price discrimination. What is first degree price discrimination? Charging different prices to different customers. Okay. I mean, for the different units. Okay. So that is called first degree price discrimination. Okay. Charging different prices to every unit. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ಗೂ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಹೇಳೋದು. Okay. So that is called first degree price discrimination. Are you able to hear me? Shall I switch off the video? Because I'm really not able to hear you at all.
Ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Oh, that is great.
We can hear you.
Okay. So, that is called first degree price discrimination. Okay. So, what happens in the first degree price discrimination? It's like, the businessman would charge highest money that a consumer would like to pay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it's like, different rate for different people for every unit. Okay. So that is called, is called first degree price discrimination. In the second degree price discrimination, different prices are charged according to the quantity. Okay. Different prices are charged according to the quantity. Like if you buy in a bulk, you may get it for less money. If you buy only 1 or 2 products, you may have to pay more money for the same product. Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is called second degree price discrimination. Like, if you go in a group to Wonderla, maybe you get some discount. That is second degree price discrimination. If you go alone, you have to pay full price.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
for first one, we can say, ma'am, for Indians and for foreigners, the tourism have different rates.
Of course, yeah. NRI price is different and the Indian tourist price is different. Yes.
Okay.
That is first degree price discrimination. Okay. And third degree price discrimination is something which we often see. for the same product, for the same prices, at the same time, people are charged differently. Okay. For example, Indian Railway. Think that you are all are going to, many people are going to Delhi from Bangalore. Same train. Okay. Nothing changes. Same facility, same train. Okay. I'm not even talking about the AC compartment, non-AC. No, I'm not even saying that. Let's say that non-AC sleeper coach. Okay. In that, different people are charged differently. For example, if you are a student, you have a student quota. Okay. If you are in army, you can travel free. If you have a, senior citizen card, then you are charged less. If you are a kid, you are charged less. Adult have to pay full. Are you able to understand? That is third degree price discrimination. So these are the different types of price discrimination which we can see in the monopoly.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
how does third degree price discrimination differ from first degree price discrimination? Because we're taking.
No, in the first degree price discrimination, actually there is like, see, the first degree price discrimination is like, if you buy the AMC, okay, annual maintenance of UPS for 5 years or AquaGuard for 5 years, then you have a different price. But if you buy it for 1 year, you have a different price. That is first degree price discrimination. Okay. So businessman would like to charge, get maximum amount from the customer. Okay, for the same service, AMC would be same for all the people, but the one who has taken AMC for 1 year will be charged differently, and 2 years will be charged differently.
Ma'am, in this example, won't that like the time period be similar to the quantity of service provided? So won't that be second degree price discrimination?
No, second degree price discrimination is always about the bulk, and it's always about the amount of goods.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is about the different types of price discrimination. So we are left with another 4 minutes. It's 3 hours marathon. I don't know how much you are really able to understand. I'm still not satisfied with the last unit that, are you really sure that, the diagrams are all you are clear with? I'm sure, sir would have done the marvelous job. So, so if you're sure, if you are comfortable, I'm okay with it. I will be satisfied. Otherwise, you know it, right? So for me, the classes I take is the temple I go. So it's very important that after 3 hours of sessions, if it is of some use to you, then I would be great. The students have asked the question. I don't think I have enough time. I will answer it to Chinmay, and I will send the, or let me just answer this, okay? Otherwise I can't sleep, sorry. I'll take two more minutes. Okay, I'm sorry. In case of the inferior.
Sorry, ma'am, I couldn't hear you.
Good that you didn't hear me, because it's okay, Chinmay. Good that you didn't hear, because I want to answer to my students directly. So in case of the inferior goods, the expansion in demand due to a price fall will take place only if the substitution effects outweighs the income effect. What does it mean? Okay. First of all, remember, what is inferior goods? When income increases, demand decreases. So for the expansion of the demand to take place, okay, price should fall, okay, because it's an inferior good. If it is a normal good, expansion would have taken place if income increases. Because it's an inferior good, expansion will happen if the price falls. Okay, and then that fall should be such that price effect should be such that substitution effect should be more than the income effect. And the real income change ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟಿನ ಬೆಲೆ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅದು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಆವಾಗ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. I don't know, I just assumed that you understand Kannada and I explained it. Do you want me to explain it in English again? Okay, so because it is an inferior good, if it is a normal good, it is exactly opposite. Okay, Don't get confused. If it is a normal good, it is exactly opposite. Yeah. And then can you explain diseconomies? Okay, I do not have much time to explain the entire, the series of diseconomies reasons and all, but I just tell you the meaning. Okay, just remember one thing. When you produce a product, it will create some advantage and it will create some disadvantages. Disadvantages are diseconomies. Advantages are economies. Okay. So externalities and so advantages are economies of scale. Diseconomies are disadvantages. Then I think you will be able to understand the concept better. Okay. So the questions that you have raised, I have answered. So do you have any more questions which I can be answered in seconds? Otherwise, yes, please.
Ma'am, in non-competitive markets, the firms are price makers, ma'am.
Yes, they are price makers, not the price takers. Like Samsung will decide the price of its mobile and Apple will decide the price of iPhone. Whereas in a perfectly competitive market, it wasn't so. It was the demand and supply forces which decide the price. Like in a non-competitive market, if you want me to give an example, not the exact example, let's say the price of tomato. It is not decided by the farmer. It is not decided by me as a consumer. It is decided by the market forces. Yestu tomato hosurig baratte, that decides. KR market yestu tomato baratte, that decides the price of tomato in Padmanabh Nagar or in Banshankari. You know, so that's it. Anjali, am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, great. So shall I wind up the class? I will definitely send the PPTs that I have shared with you while teaching, and the 4th chapter PPT also I am doing it. I mean, it's on the way. So as I will finish it within a week, and I will send it to you so that before you attend your exam, you can have a glance of it. Okay, I will definitely do that. Okay, and I'll send it to Chinmay, and I'm sure she will post it in the group. Please believe in yourself, love yourself. That's very important. You are doing great. I hope that you are doing great. If not, start doing great. Start working hard. Anything can be changed. So not in a, of course, Rome cannot be built in a night. So you have to work hard. It has to be a continuous, constant effort. Now do not think of the result, just think of your effort. Okay, and then whatever happens to the result, take it in a very good spirit. Do not give up. You have decided to become a CA, and make sure that you will do it for your own sake. Okay, so if at all you are changing your goal, it should not be out of pressure or out of fear, because I just love those lines. The fear has killed more dreams than the failures. It's not that failures has not, it's just a fear. Agalveno bhayakke now bitpidtivi. So don't be scared. Be courageous. You have determined to do something. Just go with it. Okay, have that passion. All the very best. Do well. May all your dreams come true. I hope that you all will pass the foundation phase with the flying colors. If you need anything, you can just contact Chinmay. So if you have any doubt, you can ask her. She will forward those questions to me. I will answer it, and I will send the answers back to you. Till you write your economics paper, I am with you. Even after that, I can be with you. That's not a thing. But I wish But if you have a doubt, don't keep it with yourself thinking that you won't be able to reach me. I will be teaching the present batch also, so I will be in touch with the CAPS. So in this era of communication, I don't want any of the students to students to write the exam without clarifying the doubts. So we should be able to meet in one or the other way. So there is a virtual way to meet. So let's do that. So all the very best. I hope that this 3-hour session is of some use to you. If that has filled in some confidence and some knowledge, I feel great and good about the session. Thank you so much. It has always been wonderful.
It's not 100.
Yes, Chinmay.
Sorry, ma'am, I cut you off. You can continue.
No, I always.
If
I
not
always,
100. Please continue, ma'am. I shut my mouth for now.
Okay. Yeah. I always looked forward for your classes. All the 4 chapters that I thought I always enjoyed thoroughly the classes. Now that, when Shetty sir asked me that can you take revision sessions, believe me, I was just waiting for it. Just wanted to see you one more time, and so that I could wish you just before your exams that, with all sincerity, I could wish you all the very best. Over to you, Chinmay.
Nothing, ma'am. I just wanted to say, even if not all of us would have understood 100%, of course, just by this revision and a little more of our own efforts, I think it will be enough to write the upcoming mock test and pass with good flying colors. But that's not enough for your December exam, students. Please study. I'm talking only about the present mock test which is coming up.
Yeah. Study hard. There is no shortcut, right? I don't want to do that speeches again. You would have listened to it many a times, and I'm sure the entire world is, making you listen to that. So I don't want to do chill. Study, work hard, enjoy, live your life. That's also very important. These days won't come again. You are not going to live this, 2021 again. So your age is not going to come back. Live, enjoy, be passionate about what you are doing, and all the very best. If I am of any help to you, if you need my support at any point of time, feel free to get it through the right channel. Thank you so much. Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Make me the host to leave, ma'am.
I did. I think Chinmay, you wanted me to.
Oh, okay, ma'am. You have already done it. I didn't get the message. So.
Yeah, I've already done it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Take good
you
care
so
of
much, ma'am.
yourself. Yeah. Bye. All the way.